Hello, Legacy students. This is Mrs. Housley, and this is another video tutorial that will help you prepare for our quiz or just help you as you complete your homework. If you don't already have it yet, go ahead and pause the video and find the Adverbs test page. It's on page 61 of Unit 5. Remember, if you have misplaced those or forgotten to bring them home, the whole Unit 5 handout packet is on RenWeb, so you can go there and print it off. All right, I'm going to walk through and label these. First, I'm going to have you try to label them yourself. You can pause the video, and then after you've done so, you can turn the video back on and double check your answers. Now, I'm going to run through our first 4 units. We learned to first diagram the nouns. So I'm going to walk through looking for both common nouns and proper nouns. First, I see this proper noun, James Earl Ray. Because the noun is more than one word, I'm going to draw the wings there. America is another proper noun. It's a specific country. Life is a noun, a common noun. And man is another common noun. Next, I'm going to walk through and look for my articles and my adjectives. I have the article here, the, and I have the adjective this. This tells which man. Truly, I might at first think that it's an adjective, but if I were to look at those adjective questions like what kind, how many, what color, which one. If I were to look at that for the noun man, the word truly does not answer any of those questions. So I'm going to hold off. I know that it's not an adjective. Great, however, is. Great tells what kind of man he was. So it is also an adjective. Next, I'm going to go through and look for pronouns. I glance here and I don't see any. But I do see some prepositional phrases. So I'm going to go back and note my prepositions and then make sure I know my entire phrase there. Of what? Of the life. I have another one. Of what? Of this truly great man. So I've taken care of my nouns, articles and adjectives, pronouns, and also prepositional phrases. Next, I'm going to look for the verb, and I'm going to start by looking for any possible verb words. I know that a sentence has to have a verb to be complete, but I know too that there can be verbals that look like verbs but are not acting as the verb. So for any of those words that I think could be the verb, I'm just going to go put a V over them. Robbed here looks like it could be a verb. To check and make sure it's the action verb, I'm going to ask who or what robbed. And my answer to that is James Earl Ray. Because robbed has a subject, it is an action verb. If it didn't have a subject, then it could be a verbal, and I would need to go in and mark it as one. Now I see 2 remaining words there. I'm going to go back to this word inside of that prepositional phrase, this word truly. I see the ly there, and the ly often indicates an adverb, but I need to evaluate the word before I automatically decide it is. If it is an adverb, then the root word is going to be an adjective, and then by adding the ly suffix, it is made into an adverb. So the root of truly is true, and the word true is, in fact, an adjective. So I'm taking that word true, dropping the E and adding that suffix, that ly, making it an adverb. Now, because I have that adverb, I do want to jump in and just ask myself what that adverb modifies. It's coming here, it's inside of a prepositional phrase, so that adverb itself is not going to diagram the verb. It's probably going to diagram a word inside of that phrase. So I look at that word great, which is an adjective, and I ask myself, does it answer how great or to what extent he was great? Here it answers how great he was. Again, normally adverbs we think of as modifying verbs, but adverbs can also modify adjectives or other adverbs. When they are, they're not able to move like adverbs that modify the verb. So truly here, because it's modifying that adjective great, it's not a movable adverb. It has to stay right where it is. Next, I see this word tragically. Again, the ly. Okay. Now here, if we were to look at that root, the root is tragic. And tragic is an adjective, and then they take that adjective and make it into an adverb. Now it has that comma after it, which is my first indicator that it's probably a movable adverb. And movable adverbs modify the verb. So I'm going to just double check that, and I'm going to ask myself if it answers any of those adverb questions. Questions like how, when, where, what. So here I can ask, how did James Earl Ray rob? Well, he tragically robbed. So it answers the question, how. Again, because tragically modifies the verb, it's movable. I could say James Earl Ray tragically robbed America of the life of this truly great man. I could also say James Earl Ray robbed America of the life of this truly great man tragically. So that's a movable adverb modifying the verb robbed. Now I'm looking here and I remember that prepositional phrases are also modifiers. So I want to double check these two prepositional phrases and just connect them to the word they modify so that when I go to my diagram, I don't make a mistake. So let's look at that word of the life. Now that preposition of often connects with the noun before it, which here is America. But I always want to double check that. Did America actually have the life? Was it America's life that was robbed? Or was it somebody else's life that was robbed? Because this sentence, and we know in the context of all the sentences on this test page, because these sentences are about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., we know that it wasn't America's life that was robbed, it was someone else's. So this prepositional phrase of the life is actually modifying robbed. It's telling what was robbed. Then we go to the next prepositional phrase of this truly great man. And we ask ourselves, what life? Well, it was the life of this truly great man. So this prepositional phrase here actually modifies life. Remember that those arrows are not required when you read the directions. However, I am strongly suggesting that you put them in. It will save you the chance of making mistakes when we go to diagram. All right, I am going to go ahead and set up my diagram. When we diagram, we always start by drawing the baseline. I'm going to do it as neatly as I can. This is why we're starting to use notebook paper. And I'm going to draw my subject-verb line. Because we have an action verb, that subject-verb line is going to be perpendicular to the baseline and it's going to completely cross it. As we add other parts of sentences like direct objects, we're going to see that we add other lines to that baseline that do not look like the subject-verb line. Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to look at my action verb there, which was robbed. Remember, we found the subject by saying who or what robbed. Well, it was James Earl Ray that robbed. This sentence is about Dr. Martin Luther King's assassin, which was James Earl Ray. Capitalization is important. Words that are capitalized in the sentence also have to be capitalized on the diagram. So I make sure and capitalize that proper name, James Earl Ray. Then I'm going to come to my verb side and put in the verb. Now, we have other parts of sentences that we are not yet diagramming, words like direct objects and interjections. So our directions tell us only to diagram the subject and the verb, which we've already done, and then also to diagram modifiers of the subject and the verb. So we're going to look at that subject, James Earl Ray, and determine if we have any modifiers. If you look back at our sentence, we do not have any blue arrows being drawn to James Earl Ray, so we know that James Earl Ray has no modifiers. Next, I'm going to look at robbed, and I see that the first blue arrow going over to robbed is tragically. It's going to be my first modifier under the verb. Now again, capitalization is important. So I'm going to go in and make sure my T there is capitalized. Remember, we always diagram left to right. Tragically comes first in the sentence, and it is our first modifier under the verb. My next modifier of the verb is that prepositional phrase of the life. Remember that it's modifying the verb because America's life was not taken. It was actually Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And so it's talking about the life that was robbed. I'll diagram it just like I do other prepositional phrases, putting the preposition first and then finding the object of what, of life. Because we always diagram modifiers off of the word they modify, that article the comes off of life. And then I finally have that preposition of this truly great man. Now, of this truly great man has that blue arrow. It is modifying the object of the preposition, life. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to draw my preposition. It looks like a stair step. However, remember the rule is we just always diagram off of the word that the prepositional phrase or the adverb is modifying. So we ask of what? Of man. Then we look at our modifiers for man, and our first adjective there is this. Our second adjective is great. Now we have that final word, truly. You heard me talk in the other video about the construction called the dog's hind leg. Remember, because we always diagram adverbs off of the word they modify, we have to diagram truly off of the adjective great. So in order to do that, we draw the construction of the dog's hind leg. And then on that line, we write our modifier truly. So truly there is a modifier. It has that construction because it is coming off of another modifier. We do not do that construction when we're drawing a modifier off of the verb. So if you look, just remember that rule that modifiers are always diagrammed off of the word they modify. That's true of adjectives, it's true of adverbs, and it's true of prepositional phrases. Hopefully this has helped you do a little bit of review for next week's quiz, especially for sentences that involve that dog's hind leg on the construction, those adverbs that modify an adjective or another adverb. You can watch this to know how to do other sentences on homework, and apply what you've learned here. Have a great day.